Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is, whenever it is, and you're part of the world. We're really happy to be here again today. We've been having a blast making these videos. I have a different crew of musicians here tonight. Harrison White, Michael Blount on the guitar that you're hearing right now, and of course Michael Williams will be returning. My name's Cohen. I hope you've been enjoying this series. Congrats to everybody that has won some of these pedals that we've been giving away and some of the prizes. I just hope it's been a cool adventure for everybody. The Wednesday sessions are definitely challenging, but we're having a lot of fun. We're playing through so many pedals and exploring so many different sounds and so much music. And frankly, I'm just happy to be here with such talented musicians. So it's an original composition of Michael Blount's right here. Of course, we have a new set of pedals this week that we got to talk about. We are starting off by running into the Old Blood Noise Endeavor's Sunlight Reverb. This came out last year and caused quite a stir because I think everybody's really loved the Old Blood Noise's Dark Star reverb, and they have a procession reverb that is really cool as well. But the Dark Star was this reverb that was capable of just these giant soundtrack-like pads, and we're actually going to dig into that pedal as well later on in the series. The Sunlight is sort of a spiritual sister to the Dark Star. It's got three modes: tape, comb, and pass. What you're hearing right now is the tape mode, and then we'll scroll through some of the other settings and hear a little bit about what's going on. You can hear that slow modulation in tape mode, just creating this lovely warble. Of course, we could really make it gnarly by turning the rate up, but this is where I kind of like to live. Let's switch into comb mode. Where there is now reverb and delay, and these four delay lines are creating kind of a fixed flange effect in the reverb. Yeah, let's hear pass mode. Pass mode is where a band pass is introduced in between the two reverb lines. And I'm slowing the rate down at the sample and hold, or you can crank it up. Depth high, you can really hear it come to life. Just a very unique sounding reverb. It's very fun. All right, moving on, we have the Frazz Dazzler from Dr. Scientist. Dr. Scientist has been around for a long time. They've got a huge variety of pedals, and they've always been known as innovators, people that are forward-thinking in the pedal industry. Their BitQuest pedal, when it came out, was, everybody wanted to get a hold of one of those. You could, do all these things, infinite reverb and flanger and bit crushing and several other modes where you could play it in clean or add this like crushed out fuzz to any of it. Such a fun pedal. This is their Frazz Dazzler, which is their overdrive. First time I played this was in 2015. I instantly fell in love with it. I actually dropped it and broke it, and I was really sad. I'm super stoked to have this version here with this really sexy artwork on it. This pedal is incredible sounding. It's got bass, mid, and treble controls. You have a clean blend, and you have a voltage control so you can starve your overdrive. It's a pretty high gain pedal to begin with, but it also has a second gain stage that you can add to really saturate things. Let's just hear what that sounds like. I've got some clean signal blended in. You can really hear that note definition. You can make it fully wet. Still sounds fantastic. Let's gain it back. Oh, it cleans up so nicely. Let's hear it full gain with the second gain stage. Obviously gets very heavy. Let's starve it a little bit. It's such a cool sound in and of itself. Huzzah! Adventure awaits. We're moving on to the Eventide BlackHole reverb. I've had experience with the BlackHole plugin, and it's something I've used in sessions for probably going on 7 years at least. And for a lot of producers, it's just a go-to massive stereo reverb where you can just get these really cavernous sounds and infinite, dreamy, delayed verb. So when they put it into a pedal form, I think everybody was really excited about that. This is my first time digging into it. Let's just hear what happens when we engage the pedal in the setting that we've dialed in. I have the size and the gravity and the feedback dialed pretty high right now for that sustain. You can also freeze notes. And you can hear how it's hovering on the note that Harrison played last. And you hear that droning on while he continues to play, and then I can unfreeze. You can control any of the parameters with an expression controller. So you heard as I increased the size, you were getting these really glitchy sounds in the tails, and you could control that with a foot switcher controller too, which is really cool. There's a delay control. Right now the delay time is pretty short, giving kind of a chorused sound, but we could slow the time down there for a dreamier, longer delayed sound. And there's also modulation. You can really hear it if I turn the rate and the depth up. Let's turn that rate back down and dial the modulation out a little. And then we can adjust the brightness of the reverb with the high control, or dial it back for really dark, haunting, lo-fi tones. All right. This is Dan Housen's signature fuzz, the Fuzzhausen from Wonder Effects. It is a no-knob fuzz pedal, which you see these around, from time to time. Even one-knob fuzzes are really cool because it just simplifies things for you. Things are typically dialed in tastefully from the get-go, and you just engage the pedal, and you're rocking. There's 2 modes to this, though. With the secondary foot switch, you can start in very nice mode, and then there's very evil mode. Very nice mode is a really dense, thick and heavy fuzz. It's very highly gained, lots of sustain on tap. And essentially you control this pedal through your guitar's volume knob. And it's the same for very evil mode. So when you switch into that mode, the pedal's going to really scream at you, and you can get some really starved sounds by rolling your volume knob down a lot. Or if you just moderately roll your volume knob down, it kind of becomes a nice, like, gritty overdrive. So let's put it in a very nice mode, and we're going to start with our volume all the way up. Holy shit. And if we roll down the volume knob, say to around 3, we start getting this really starved, spitty fuzz out of it. Yeah, so the sustain has been kind of zapped out of the pedal. You can really hear it dying out. Let's hear the very evil mode here. This can vary too from where the volume knob is set, and down here it's very throaty and very glitchy sounding. Let's roll that volume knob up. And the texture and the brightness and sustain of the fuzz is obviously changed quite drastically. All right, for a change of pace, a little quieter, we're going to dig into the Spaceman Effects Delta 2 optical harmonic tremolo. This pedal dropped last year, I believe, and I got to spend a lot of time with it and did a piece myself and really dig in. It's a gorgeous sounding tremolo. I mean, what can I say? It can do anything from traditional tremolo to harmonic tremolo and anything in between with this lag control. So right now we're in the full harmonic tremolo mode, and we can also flip it back, and now you kind of hear those volume undulations. There's also a frequency splitter on this pedal, so it's actually more than just a standard tremolo pedal. And you can kind of choose which frequency you want to accentuate, and there's a resonance control over here as well. The depth of this tremolo gets insane if you want it to, or you can just use it for really lush, blended in movement into your guitar signal, kind of the way that we have it right here. But let's roll the volume knob up and really dig into it. That's the traditional tremolo mode. Let's flip to harmonic. As I'm turning the frequency knob, you kind of hear the different band of frequencies that's being, undulated in this harmonic tremolo here. You can really crank the resonance up. For very pronounced sounds, I can sweep that around. You can also hook an expression pedal up. But let's dial the resonance back and hear a couple of really pretty sounds out of it. Let's blend the harmonic and tremolo mode so we get a little bit of volume and harmonic undulation. The rate goes so fast in this pedal that you can really get into ring mod territory. Now, whether you would choose to do that for this style of music is really up to you. Ooh. Oh, that is so nice. And I have the depth cranked right now, but obviously we can make the effect less subtle, and to some of you that means more usable. All right, we're moving on to the Limelight Overdrive from Electronic Audio Experiments. John over at EAE really knows dirt. I mean, I don't think that there is any argument about this in the industry. Everyone knows him, and his ear and tastefulness for dirt design is incredible. He also has some really other interesting pedals, including the Hypersleep, which is like a reverb that I really want to try and get my hands on. But the Limelight is an incredibly versatile overdrive that has one of the widest gain ranges that I've heard in an overdrive in a long time. Sounds fantastic at low gain, and it just on its own, when you turn the gain up, it's very high gain, but you can throw in a boost on the front end to explode it even more. I mean, you almost get into fuzz territory with this. There's a focus toggle switch that lets you accentuate different frequency ranges. So there's like a chimier mode. There's one that kind of accentuates and boosts your mid-range. Let's just dig into it a little bit and hear it. This is relatively low gain right here. Let's boost the mid-range a little bit. Gonna gain it up. It's a blues breaker-based overdrive. All right, let's increase boost on the front end. This is with the gain and the boost fully dialed up. Tone control can affect how dark or bright your sound is. All right, we're going to flip into the Limelight's chime mode and gain it down a little bit, and we're going to introduce the Milkman Pop Top boost into the chain here. Pop Top is inspired by old 70s channel strips, and it converts 9 volts of power into 36 volts internally, so you can get a massive range of power out of this thing. It says high headroom stamped on the front of the pedal, so obviously you can use this post chain to really crank your signal up if you need and use it as a clean boost, and you get this subtle mid focus even at unity. And when we flip it to the front end of the chain, we'll really hear how it could impact your other drives. All right, we're going to place it in front of the Limelight to drive that a little bit and hear what happens. All right, we're about 75% up, and you can already hear it adding compression and saturation, and we essentially have a very fuzzy sound here. Let's go all the way. I'm gonna back it off just a hair. Let's hear it without. And back on. Hell yeah. All right. This has been a very interesting night already. We definitely have a few more left. We're about to dig into the Fumes from Farm Pedals. They've been kind enough to send in several pedals for this series, and the Fumes is their newer phaser introduced in their line. We did play their Fly Agaric, which was a phaser from last episode where you could switch between 2 different speeds and had a fixed depth. Well, here we again have a phaser with a fixed depth, and they designed this pedal to be able to get extremely stretched out, slow phasing movements. But there is a separate modulation section where an LFO shunts your non-inverted dry signal. So you can control the intensity of that and get almost tremolo and vibrato-like sounds mixed in with your phasing, and you've got independent speed controls for the phaser and the second LFO as well. So I think Harrison's going to dig in and play, and let's just hear a little bit of what this sounds like. You can hear the subtle movement of the phaser happening here. Let's introduce the second LFO. So you can have the phaser going really slow with the second LFO speed increased to create these kind of counter rhythms. Lots of subtle movement happening here. That's just very pretty. With everything cranked, you can really hear the tremolo-like qualities and how it throbs and pulses. Very nice. We're gonna take a look at the Pladask Electrisk Draume reverb that they sent in. It's a very unique reverb. I've never really heard anything like it. When they talk about it and they describe it, they talk about trying to explore what artificial reverb really sounds like. And a lot of people are always trying to chase more realistic sounds, and the Draume is really not about that. Nothing sounds normal about this pedal. There's a lot of really cool features. It's got a clock control. You can introduce tape-like warble. You can introduce tremolo into the reverb. You can distort the reverb. It's got a hall mode, this very interesting metal mode, and a granular mode that's got nice glitchy texture to it. Also has an infinite freeze on it. It's a pretty deep pedal. There's a lot to explore, but let's just turn it on and hear a little bit. Modulation engaged here with both warble and tremolo. Let's dial that back. I mean, it's straight out of a dream. We're in hall mode right now. Let's turn the sample rate down to see what kind of more deeper lo-fi textures we can get. Distort the signal as well. It's a very interesting kind of distortion. Let's dial that back and hear grain mode. Modulate it with the vibrato and turn the sample rate back up. foot switch, we get into infinite decay. Or rather, maximum decay, which equates to an infinite reverb. Click that back on. Let's dial the mix back a little bit to something a little less extreme and explore metal mode. Reduce that modulation, get some tremolo in. We're going to check out now the Super Daydreamer from Tomcat Pedals. Tom Kogut makes some really lovely pedals, aesthetically just gorgeous designs with the white front and the really cool graphics as always, and just the way everything lights up. He's got a very cool style to his pedals. One he's most famous for is probably the cloudy reverb, which is where he took the rack module clouds and redesigned it into a pedal enclosure, and added some features of his own, really to me making that effect in particular more accessible, and specifically accessible on a pedal board. And Cloudy's the Cloudy is a highly regarded, extremely powerful stereo reverb. The Super Daydreamer is an expanded version of his pedal, the Daydreamer, which is a delay and a reverb. So you have volume controls for how much reverb you want, how much echo. The Super Daydreamer takes things a bit further, and you can add modulation. It's very accessible because instead of like a depth and a speed knob for a whole modulation section, you have a button that changes the waveform and the speeds from slow, very slow to moderately fast. You've got tap tempo division and tap tempo controls. You can also hold down the foot switch to send this pedal into like oscillating madness, and it's really cool. So Phoebe's gonna play a little guitar back here. We're really excited to have her on the couch for once finally. So hopefully we can do that more. Let's hear it, Phoebe. Echo and the reverb dialed all the way up. And now I'm going to engage some modulation, the moderate speed. Just by tapping this button, you can hear the modulation slowing down. And we can go even slower there. The oscillation goes away right when you let go. Where the delay time is set will also affect how quickly the oscillation rushes in. tonight, we're going to check out a very unconventional pedal, the Randy's Revenge from Fairfield Circuitry. It's a ring modulator. It's something that I think a lot of players are confused about. It's almost a mysterious effect. And in my limited terms of understanding, it's when you combine your input signal with the carrier signal, the modulated signal, and you get the sum of its output, and you can create really bell-like sounds, metallic sounds, almost, you know, vibrato-y sounds that have just this, like, often ringing character to them. A lot of it depends on where you set the frequency knob. What is this useful for? Well, you can get video game-like sounds. You can just achieve different and unique textures that maybe you couldn't pull out of your instrument before. You might just want to accentuate some parts of the frequency range of your instrument that you just couldn't do with a distortion or an EQ or something like that. It's really an effect category of its own. So let's click it on and mess around. We've got some different controls to get a pretty wide variety of sounds inside the Randy's Revenge. So yeah, it's in square wave mode right now, and you can hear you already have these video game-like sounds. I can sweep the frequency control, and that sounds cool in and of itself. I could dial the mix up and really get nuts with this. There's a low-pass filter if your frequencies get too bright. So I can roll that back and tame it or get some mud if I want. I can switch to sine wave. You can really hear that ringing metallic sound there. Now, of course, these are some extreme settings, so it doesn't have to be used in such an extreme, harsh way. We can find just a frequency to tune it to that can match the key of what you're playing, or just kind of peaks out a little bit and gives you a different flavor. Oh yeah, that's really cool. So many uses for this, really. All right, we've got a few more left for the night. It's been a good night over here. We've had a really interesting batch of pedals. Next, we have the Xander Circuitry Cafetiere harmonic percolator-based fuzz, and this is one of the coolest out there by far, in my opinion, because you have an 8-mode rotary switch that lets you choose between germanium, silicone, LED, asymmetrical clipping, no diode at all. It actually really does affect the sound quite a bit. For those of you that are wondering, like, oh, how much does that really matter? Well, you know, obviously you're going to get volume differences from mode to mode, but like texturally, yes, they will all respond to your playing differently for different variations in sound. This is helpful because it helps you dial in your sound that you want. This thing gets very high gain, and it also has a starve control, so if you're a percolator fan like me, that's awesome, and you can also get spitty sounds with the fuzz that you love. It's very cool. Right now, we're in LED mode. Let's roll the volume knob up and hear a little more. Let's starve it a little bit. Starve is more noticeable at higher gain settings. Really hear those spitty qualities come out. Let's return the voltage to normal. All right, we're gonna try germanium clipping mode. Woo, that's hot. Now we're going to gain it down and say we were in a situation where you wanted to play a verse at lower gain. Then you want to kick on something high gain immediately, blast mode. Turns your gain to full. Press up a foot switch. And you can set the volume that engages at with the blast knob. All right, we have Matt Drago here playing through the PDF2 from Stone Deaf Effects. They sent in their PDF 1X and the Q Boost as well for us to just have some regular boost preamp style pedals in the show, since we just didn't have enough to go around for all of the guitar and bass players that are playing on all of these songs across all of these sessions. And we picked these because you have this really cool way of accentuating the frequencies and having like control over what you're boosting. There's a clean mode, there's a dirty mode. The PDF2 has an improved noise floor, and let's click it on and just see. We can immediately fatten up our sound by selecting lower mid-range of frequencies to kind of enhance right off the bat. Height control is going to select how intensely you're boosting. And you have a Q control essentially here. We can make it super thin or super wide. You'll hear it most recognizably when the Q is very thin. It's basically a notch filter. I'm sweeping. You can also plug in an expression pedal to get these kind of sweeps with your foot. It's really cool. Let's kind of go in the middle here with the Q size. And we're gonna mellow out the depth of this frequency boost and click on the dirty side and gain it up. God, that is sweet. It's really about where you want your sound to live. So we're closing out the night soon, and we have the Mask Audio Electronics Cascader. This is actually another pedal that was designed in collaboration with Ian from Collector Emitter, the demo artist himself. It is a dual fuzz again, but in a different way. Obviously, Cascader, you know, the name implies that you have one fuzz cascading into another. These circuits are very high gain, so you turn on the pedal and you get blown in the face, but then in typical Mask Audio style, it's like there's a foot switch to blow you in the face even harder. So you can integrate the second fuzz circuit and just go crazy. The yeah switch is always a fun addition in this instance. It's going to add a little bit more compression and get you more of a gated sound. You can also clean up the fuzz in either modes with your volume knob. So let's check it out. So brutal. Let's engage the second gain stage. The center knob just controls volume. Very simple controls. Let's hit the yeah switch. Roll down the volume knob too. Woo! That sucker's hot. All right, the last one for the night. The Petrichor from Polar Bear Effects. This is Darko's newest pedal. He released a few recently. The Ascender, which was a really cool delay version of the awesome and epic Draume pedal. That's a bit crusher reverb. Drago always makes really interesting forward-thinking pedals, and his pedals aesthetically are always gorgeous. He's probably one of my favorite pedal builders. So we are really excited to dig into this. This is the first time I've literally plugged in and played this pedal. It's a lo-fi delay with a PT2399 chip. You've got mix and delay, time, and repeats controls, and then you see these toggle switches all laid out below. They can be kind of intimidating, right? Well, you need not worry. This pedal sounds gorgeous no matter what you do. Michael, let's roll that volume knob up, and we're going to play around a little bit with it. So each of the 4 first toggle switches are going to determine whether that step in the repeats in the sequence is going to be a quarter note, eighth note, or a dotted eighth. So just experimenting with where these are is going to net you different and wondrous results, almost no matter where you land. The 5th toggle switch sets how many steps are in the sequence, 3, 4, or random. Let's switch to random now, and I'm going to turn that mix up. Pedal is also tap tempo, so let's try this quarter note rhythm here. You can start to hear those random jumps. You hear a little hiss introduced. That's very normal for the PT2399 chip. And again, this is kind of designed as a lo-fi delay, so that's part of the charm, really. Turning the delay time knob is always fun on any delays. But it's especially fun on this one. I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in and checking out the show. This has been an incredible experience, and I'm just so happy to be surrounded by the amazing musicians and have the opportunity to work with so many cool effects and sounds. It's really been eye-opening. So we hope that you've enjoyed this. Please stick around to the end of the episode to find out what pedals we're giving away, and of course you will have a chance to win an entire pedal board or one of the individual pedals that we're giving away. So thank you so much. We'll be hanging out again soon. Take care.